finally, Yoko will talk about banning size-zero models. Okay. First, I am going to briefly explain what supermodels are. The role of supermodels is to display and promote fashion, clothing, cosmetics, or other products for the purpose of advertising. They appear in fashion shows, magazines, and posters, and even on TV, for example, beauty pageants. They are highly paid with high status and fame, and thus many people, especially young people, tend to admire them. Next, I would like to talk about their body type. As many of you already know, supermodels have a certain body type. I am sure that many of you expect supermodels to be very tall with long legs and skinny wings. According to the British Association of Model Agents, AMA, they suggest that the ideal size of female models for chest, waist, and hips should be around 86, 61, and 86 centimeters, and their height should be at least 1.73 meters tall. This measurement is equivalent to size 0. Have you ever heard of size 0 models before? They are referred to models that are around this measurement. Although many models are proud to be size 0, recently this figure is greatly rising criticism. Here, I want to emphasize the fact that this figure is way too skinny, and therefore it is extremely unhealthy to be in this position. Nowadays, the majority of supermodels are regarded to be too skinny. Now I would like to show you how supermodels have become thinner over the years, taking the BMI as a measurement. In order to be healthy, your BMI should be between 18.5 and 24.9. But as you can see, it shows that since the 1960s to 1990s, the models have a very low BMI, which is considered to be unhealthy. In fact, the most recent models are said to have an average BMI of only 16. And although supermodels seem to have gained social appeal and fame over the years, there are several criticisms towards them. As I mentioned before, supermodels are way too thin. Therefore, many models are in the habit of dieting, such as fasting, excessive exercise, and drugs. These unhealthy habits could end up into disease, for example, anorexia and bulimia. They are both serious diseases that affect both physically and mentally. Also, because supermodels are exposed to the public by the media, it is concerned that they might have a bad influence on the society, especially on young girls. And next, Ayumi will talk about anorexic models.
I'm going to talk about anorexic models and a distorted image of beauty. In 2006, two supermodels died of anorexia nervosa. One of them is from Brazil, and her name is Ana Carolina Reston. She was 21 years old and died from an infection caused by anorexia. She was about 1.72 meters tall, and her weight was 40 kilograms. So she was too thin. 40 kilograms is considered a normal weight for a 12-year-old girl, no more than 1.5 meters tall. Reston's BMI was 13.5 at the time of her death. Reston was not famous, but she did some jobs for Giorgio Armani, and she traveled to many countries to work as a model. The major factor of her severe reduction of food is that she had been trying to help her family in Brazil with the money she made, and that made her too concerned with her appearance. There are some photos of Ana Carolina Reston, and another model who died from anorexia is from Uruguay, and her name is Luzelle Ramos. She was 22 years old, and she died from heart failure caused by anorexia nervosa. Her height was 1.75 meters tall, and she weighed only 44 kilograms. Her BMI was 14.5 at the time of her death, and she had been told that if she lost some weight, she could grow and she could be more famous as a model, and that encouraged her to go on a diet of lettuce and Coke. So this is some photos of Luisa Ramos. And now I'm going to explain about BMI. BMI stands for Body Mass Index. And if a BMI is below 18, it's considered underweight. And if the BMI is below 17.5, you are considered to have anorexia nervosa. And BMI nearing 15 is an indicator of starvation. And just to remember, Luisa Ramos' BMI was 14.5 when she died, and Anna Karina Reston's BMI was 13.5. So why could not they eat anymore? These are some characteristics of people who have anorexia, and one of them is that they are perfectionists. So when they go on a diet, they want to lose more and more weight, and because their appearance is all for them, so they cannot stop reducing the amount of food. So the thinner they are, the more secure they feel. And another problem is that they do not recognize that they are in trouble, and they are very angry when someone gives them advice about their eating habits, and they are addicted to reduce the amount of food. And the standard of top models is skinny now, and many model agencies do not want to change this image of beauty, so it's a very big problem, and this leads people to be unhealthy. So now Ayano is going to talk about
Now I will talk about teenies' anorexia and how they're influenced by the media and supermodels. A teenager with anorexia nervosa is typically a perfectionist and a higher achiever in school. So it's just like the same as what Ayumi just said. At the same time, teenage anorexia girls suffer from low self-esteem, irrationally believing she is fat regardless of how thin she is. Desperately needing a feeling of mastery over her life. The teenager with anorexia nervosa experiences a self-sense of control only when she says no to the normal food demands of her body. To be thin, the girl starves herself. This often reaches the point of serious damage to the body, and a small number of cases may lead to death. Anorexics usually think they're fat, even though they're very thin. People with anorexia may get so thin that they look like they're sick. This physical manifestation of harmful intent to herself threatens all-around health and wellness, and total well-being is distributed and also prevalent in teen population. Individuals suffering from anorexia go to extreme lengths to keep themselves from gaining weight. 28 million or more people in the United States have an eating disorders, and 90% of those affected by anorexia are female. And victims can be rich or poor. Eating disorders usually start in teens, but may begin as early as age 8. In the United States, as many as 1 in 100 young women suffer from an eating disorder, and roughly 1 in 25 people have anorexia. Overeating related to tension, poor nutritional habits, and food fads are relatively common eating problems for young people. In addition, two psychiatric eating disorders, anorexia nervosa and bulimia, are the increase among teenage girls and young women and often run in families. These two eating disorders also occurs in boys, but less often. Teenage idols. Today's teens are at higher risk than those of previous generations. They are bombarded by images of unrealistic standards of beauty on television, the internet, in magazines, and in movies. The message which teens today are being fed is that beauty and thinness can change your life. Tune into any episodes of shows like The Swan, and you will start to believe it too. Studies have shown there is a direct connection between how much exposure a woman has to contemporary media and the frequency of eating disorder symptoms she experiences. One study in which women viewed slides of overweight, average, and thin models found exposure to thin models resulted in lower self-esteem and decreased weight certification.
Okay, from what Ayana and Ayumi have said in the presentation, I believe you all understood that ultra skinny models have bad influence on young teenage girls and supermodel health itself. However, there is a new trend to break out the situation, so I'd like to introduce some recent situation of fashion scenes. First of all, Milan and Madrid's annual show have banned size 0 models from the catwalks. Their aim is to make all models on the show to the full body and look healthy. In addition, there is a new regulation that models with a BMI less than 18 would not be allowed to take part in the show, and also all models must present a medical certificate confirming that they are in good health. Following this new regulation, fashion labels like Prada, Armani, and Versace have agreed to ban size 0 models from their catwalks too. So now, therefore, it seems that many designers are now understood that there is a necessity of working together against anorexia. What I found interesting was that celebrity is having the same ideas these days. As you can see, this is Victoria Beckham, and she has announced that she's going to ban size 0 models from promoting her denim fashion label. Instead of using ultra skinny models, she has hired a voluptuous Brazilian beauty called Daniela Saraiva to represent her brand. This is Daniela's picture, and you can understand that she looks healthy, not ultra skinny. The reason why Victoria hired Daniela is because she didn't want to be accused of giving young girls a complex about their image. And she wanted to tell that they don't have to be ultra skinny in order to look good. However, this Victoria's attempt was quite strange because she is the one who wears the jeans that could fit a 7-year-old. Her waist is 23 inches, which is 3 inches shorter than Daniela. And I think you can see how skinny she is from this picture, like her stomach and legs. Okay, now please look at this picture. This is a picture of a catwalk show at London Fashion Week. London Fashion Week was refusing to ban size 0 models from the catwalks. But recently, a knitwear designer called Mark Foss had used size 12 and 14 women in his show, which is more conventional sized models. As you can see, size 12 model is leading the final walkout. This attempt was quite challenging, and as a fact, 2 of Mark's design team got extremely angry and quitted when Mark told that he's going to use conventional sized models. However, this showcase ended up with a great success, and Mark was able to show those larger women look great in his dresses. Okay, from these things, I believe people's view about the size of their body is changing, and it seems that many people are now aware of anorexia. Okay, in conclusion, many girls admire supermodels, but trying to be like them does not always bring good, because there is a great fear of being anorexia, which might cause them to death. What we want to emphasize is that staying healthy is the most important thing. And we might concern about our appearance, but inner beauty is more important. So we should focus on our inside in order to look beautiful and attractive enough. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Any questions for them? Any questions for them? I'll start. I got a couple. First one, you see now. I think it might have been mentioned statistics about most of your statistics were about the United States. 1 in 100, 1 in 25. 1 in 100 have, I think, some eating disorders, and about 1 in 25 have anorexia. Did you get any statistics for Japan?
No, I didn't. Like most of the patients for anorexia are like from the United States.
I'm curious about it because, well, eating disorders, of course, go to both extremes. People who are extremely thin and people who are extremely overweight. And we see both in the United States. Whereas we don't see too many extremely overweight people in Asian countries, Japan, Japan. However, we do see a lot of extremely thin women. Right? Just in this classroom, a lot of you are very thin. Whether you're sick or not is another question. But a lot of you are very thin. So it would seem to me that, at least for underweight, anorexia, bulimia, Japanese women or Asian women might be even more prone than Western women. Did you find anything about that? No, you didn't. Okay.
I think, like, if not from my research, but from my opinion, like, people are, like, thinner, the girls in Japan are thinner than, like, the United States, but, like, when it comes to anorexia, I think it's, like, really extreme, so, like, in the average, like, everybody's, like, thin in Japan, so.
There is a key difference in diet, which I think makes Japanese people generally smaller to begin with. Smaller but thinner. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah.
Is the movement of not using the zero model in the fashion show is still continued like now?
I think it still continues because the one I told, the show at the London Fashion Week was held in like last year, so it's still continuing.
Okay. That's a positive thing. Not to hold up these sickly people as models, as What is BMI?
Body mass index.
Can you tell me a little bit of what it means? Body mass index? Okay, you can't explain it easily.
So there is a way that you calculate.
Okay. And the reason I'm asking is, I don't know, you began the presentation, you started using the term. And then you picked it up. And it was about midway through your section that you finally explained what it meant, what body mass index. You finally explained it there. To me, this is just a small criticism. That you should have done it. I know. You should have done it. It should have been part of your presentation. It should have been one of the first things you mentioned.
And I thought,
Common knowledge? Not really. It's a good, well, if it is common knowledge, then there was no need to explain it at all anyway. She did go into an explanation. And just a small thing on organization. It doesn't have to be a big explanation. Even simply BMI, which means body mass index. Even something as simple as that. Now her slide, which actually said, okay, this is considered 0, this is considered healthy, below this. That's a good addition. That should have come just a little bit earlier. Anybody else? No? Okay, well, let's give them a hand. Well, again, very good information. And this, even though we've seen presentations on this topic, this is, in my mind, an important topic.